What's really going on at San Diego State University? Why is San Diego State football struggling right now? And can Sean Lewis turn it around? In this video, I'll explain why San Diego State football is the key to future Pac 12 success. This is the Let's Run podcast. Folks, welcome into the show today. Want to thank you for checking out the channel. Please do, while you're here, like and subscribe. This is the college football conference realignment series where I go school by school, break them down. What value do they have? What value do they have for the future of conference realignment? Where are they going to be 5 to 10 years from now? What's their assets? What's their upsides? What's their downsides? I break it all down today. So please please subscribe so that you can see your school covered and we can talk about the value, primarily G5 conference realignment stuff, maybe a little bit of Big 12 stuff down the road. But right now I'm going through all of the Pac-12 and Mountain West schools. This was San Diego State. Next will be UTEP. You will not want to miss it. And let's jump into San Diego State and what's going on at that university right now. So let's present the screen here. Share screen here. Let's jump into the slide here. The goal is to kind of shorten these videos so that they can be a little bit more punchy, just so that we can get through the topics a little faster. Easier on me. I have the bar exam in 2 weeks from today. And so I'm trying really hard to stay focused on that, but I really want to keep providing you guys content. So it's going to be a little bit shorter, but I wanted to talk about San Diego State. I think they're perhaps the most under-discussed aspect of this whole Pac-12 thing. They were almost certainly the ringleader alongside Boise State with the creation, and then obviously with Oregon State and Washington State. But in terms of kind of the defectors from the Mountain West, San Diego State has been a big part of that from the very beginning, obviously starting a couple of years ago when they announced their intention to join the old Pac-12 before the old Pac-12 disintegrated. And there was a lot of drama around that. I'm not going to get into that too much. Wanted to talk about where the program is right now. 2021, things are looking great for San Diego State. They go 12-2 that season. They finished ranked number 25 in the AP poll. Their new stadium was opening the next year. They've got a really good kind of historic coach. I don't know if historic's the right word, but definitely a guy with a serious resume who had an awesome career in Brady Hoke. They're 12-2. They finished ranked, and Snapdragon opens in 2022. Their first season in Snapdragon started out okay. They end up going 7-6 that season with some offensive issues. Hoke has always been kind of a defensive stalwart type coach. They end up firing their offensive coordinator mid-season, Jeff Heklesinski. I think that's how you say his name. Hoke's system kind of stagnated. There was a late season improvement, but in 2023, after a 7-6 2022, in 2023 they go 4-8. I think you could see a little bit of the frustration that Brady Hoke had with the current system, the NIL. He was kind of an old school football guy, and all this new school stuff really I don't think fit him. And I'm not saying he couldn't have thrived in it, but he decided to step away at 2023. He retires. And the attendance, 2022, there was a lot of early excitement for Snapdragon, but 2023 and but in 2023, and as the 2022 season went on, the attendance kind of steadily started to decrease. And a lot of that was just because the team was mediocre. But there were some complaints with Snapdragon that we'll get into a bit more later in the season. But, 2021, things are looking great. They look like they're going to be leading alongside their basketball program, San Diego State, into the Pac-12, and everything's looking awesome. But their football program, though the basketball program has remained incredibly strong, did see a pretty sharp decrease in its popularity in San Diego and also just in the success that they were having. So let's talk about Snapdragon. It opened in 2022, like I said, $310 million stadium. It was basically built to be a low-level P5 stadium and a very high-level G5 stadium. It is technically on campus, but ultimately it's a little kind of out of the way. It's kind of like in a satellite campus that's not far from San Diego State's main campus, but it's kind of got an infamous opening day in 2022, as there is no shade in the stadium, like at all. And the opening game, there were tons of people having heat stroke issues. The stadium was kind of seen as a hot box. Though the amenities were really nice, they also came with a price increase. So people were also upset about the price increase to go to San Diego State games. There were complaints about long lines. The opening really was kind of a little bit of a disaster, that first opening game. But their attendance was very strong in 2022, despite the fact that their team was 7-6, but they were coming off such a great season and they had a legendary coach. So attendance was pretty strong that first year. It tailed down quite a bit in the 23-24 season. Again, another issue that's been brought up with Snapdragon Stadium is the grass, the field that people play on. There's apparently poor drainage. The grass can become a little muddy. I don't know if muddy is the right word, but a little too wet. And, I think that Snapdragon was supposed to kind of catapult the program into the future, but, Brady Hoke retiring alongside maybe some design issues. And it's not that the stadium isn't great. I actually think Snapdragon's a really good asset because what people don't understand is that San Diego State owns Snapdragon. They used like long-term bonds to build this thing. They didn't use public money. If they did, it was very small amounts. And so they completely own the stadium. The stadium's been rented out to MLS stuff. And it's a big financial asset for the school. Now they have to capitalize on it and they have to win football games to fill it up. But Snapdragon Stadium has not been like some people have claimed that it's a financial disaster for San Diego State. It absolutely isn't. It's an asset, but it's an asset that they have to make some adjustments. I do think they probably need to add some shading, just something to keep the fans, give them a little bit of shade. In Vegas, going out to play in Sam Boyd Stadium, there was no shade there either, and it was kind of a hot box. Allegiant has been such a blessing for us in Vegas because it just gives protection from the heat. And so that initial hype that they had for the stadium doesn't seem like it's been able to carry over, especially as the football team has really struggled the last two seasons. But it is still an asset for the school. They need to upgrade it though. They need to fix the drainage issues. They need to fix the grass issues, and they need to give some people some form of shade. Because apparently the airflow is also, I talked to a person there in San Diego that says they like the stadium, but apparently the airflow is also not great, which is kind of weird for San Diego because that's such a nice weather place. And so to have complaints about heat and shade and stuff is just bizarre in my eyes. But hopefully they'll get these issues figured out. Snapdragon, they do need to win to bring in new fans and get the attendance up. But overall, it is still a really good asset and one of the better stadiums in the group of five. Let's talk about Sean Lewis. So Brady Hoke obviously retires at the end of the 2023 season. There's a 4-8 collapse. There were so many complaints about the offense under Brady Hoke kind of stagnating towards the end of his time as the head coach there in San Diego. So they bring in Sean Lewis, who had been a previous head coach at a couple of smaller schools. I think Kent State was one. I had that somewhere. I think he'd been a previous head coach at a smaller school. And even if he hadn't, he had run a really fast-paced offense, been known as a really good, like, spread the ball out, throw the ball everywhere, really designed to kind of get the San Diego State program out of the mired kind of slog offense that had been kind of prevalent towards the end of the Brady Hoke era. 2024, his first season, did not start well. I mean, they started out 2-0, I believe, and then they ended up losing 6 straight. Their offense did not improve at all. There were some QB issues. Their first initial class ranked 80th, good for third in the Mountain West. The 2025 class, but their first class, a coach kind of gets a year to figure stuff out. But seeing 80th nationally, third in the Mountain West, I think that San Diego State's a little behind on recruiting, and specifically in the portal. I think that they're struggling a little bit. The recruiting shows long-term promise, but I don't think it's quite up to the standard that it should be in the Mountain West. And that 2023 season going 4-8, the offense kind of falling apart. It was not a good first season for Sean Lewis, and the Mountain West was not, outside of Boise State and UNLV last season, the Mountain West was not a particularly strong conference. And so this last season in the Mountain West is really key for Sean Lewis. To build himself. And I think that he is probably the biggest question mark kind of clouding the San Diego State program right now. So what's the future for San Diego State? Well, Snapdragon, long-term asset, but they need to win football games. Sean Lewis, I think, is on a pretty short leash. He will probably get at least 2 more seasons, one next season, and then the first year in the Pac-12. But San Diego State really needs to hit the ground running in the Pac-12. They need to fill up the stadium. They need to make money. They need to win games. The recruiting is okay, but not spectacular. It's not quite good enough to assuage the doubts and fears that Sean Lewis isn't the guy. Um, there was a pretty bad headline about a decreased amount of season ticket holders. San Diego State basically needs to win over the fans in this new era. There is not a coach that these fans are automatically going to believe in Sean Lewis. There's not a kind of a, I don't want to call him a legend, but kind of a credible figure in Brady Hoke anymore. And they need to make a decision on Sean Lewis immediately. They need to figure out if this guy can be the head coach or not, because I don't think he can based on what I saw last season. They're not going to fire him after one season. Obviously, they're going to bring him back. They're going to give him another chance. But I'm worried that, going into the new Pac-12, Sean Lewis and San Diego State football could be buried. Their value in realignment is about performance. And basically it is for every G5 school. San Diego is not, it's a good market for sure. It's not like a sports epicenter. There's a reason that teams left San Diego, but there's certainly room in the city of San Diego for San Diego State to be a prevalent program. And it certainly is on the basketball side. But their football team, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Vegas. Obviously they've had a bit more success than we have, but their football team, they have to win. There's no there's no 30,000 people that's going to be at a mediocre San Diego State football team. They have to be dominant, and they have to win consistently. And so figuring out Sean Lewis, if he can do it, that's the key. And this is kind of the final point I want to make here, is that the Pac-12 needs San Diego State football to be good. San Diego State is in the largest media market in the new Pac-12. It's in the biggest city in the most important state, the state of California. And San Diego State's got a history. They've won. They've done pretty well. Basically, in the Brady Hoke era, they've been awesome, mostly until the very end there. And people talk about the Pac-12 as if, oh, well, they're just going to get 4 out of 5 years. They're going to get the college football playoff spot. And Boise State, certainly most years I would predict, is going to be the favorite for the college football playoff spot in the group of 5 for the foreseeable future. But outside of Boise State, none of these programs have been New Year's Six type teams. None of them have been, and I know that the college football 12-team playoff is relatively new, but Oregon State, Washington State got close in the old Pac-12 a couple of times. Oregon State never really did, even though I know that they had a couple of very good seasons. The Pac-12 needs more than just Boise State to be a contender for the college football playoff. San Diego State has shown that it could be that. But, Boise State's not going to be 11-1 with a Heisman contender every single season. And the Pac-12 is not so much better than the other group of 5 conferences that it can rely on one team to be the team to get to the college football playoff every year. San Diego State, Oregon State, Washington State, these schools can, alongside Boise State, compete for the college football playoff, but they never have before. And that's not to say that they haven't had awesome seasons where they went 12-2. And I'm not saying that they haven't had good seasons, but the Pac-12 needs other schools to elevate up to Boise State's level to give them a realistic chance of actually being that dominant group of 5 power. And San Diego State is one of those teams. The investment into Snapdragon, even though it needs some additional help to make it a more ideal stadium, I still think it's great. Sean Lewis was hired to be a modernization and a resurgence. And if San Diego State can't return to form and even elevate from what they previously were, even though they were an excellent team, the Pac-12's foundation cannot be just Boise State. San Diego State has to be a part of that. Fresno State has to be a part of that. Oregon State and Washington State have to be a part of that. But San Diego State specifically, I think, is maybe the most ideal team of all of them to be the leader in that movement. And so what is the conclusion here? The conclusion is that San Diego State's at a crossroad. They've got a big decision with Sean Lewis. They've got a stadium that they have to tinker with a little bit just to make it a bit more ideal. They've got all the potential in the world, but the Pac-12 is relying on them to be a flagship school going into the future. Are they going to do that or not? I don't know. Where will San Diego State end up in 5 years? I want to answer that quickly. I think they've got a really good chance of joining whatever Power Five kind of stuff is going to happen in 2031, whether that be the ACC, a Super League. San Diego State's in a great market, and they've got a great opportunity, especially with such. And I didn't talk a lot about basketball because football really drives conference realignment. But they've got a good future ahead of them, but they need Sean Lewis to pan out. And if he doesn't pan out, then they have to move on and hire a serious coach as quickly as possible. So guys, that is all for the video today. I want to thank you for checking out the channel. Please do like, please do subscribe. Please let me know your thoughts if you think I'm off base with San Diego State. I thank you so much, and let's run.